This is CD4Peace.
The death in May 2020 in Minnesota, USA, of the US citizen George Floyd, following the increased traction of the Black Lives Matter movement, sparked a global movement against systemic racism, particularly against Black people and people of African descent. Demonstrations and rallies have taken place around the world. This is Emanuela, and welcome to the 4 Minutes for Peace podcast series. In this episode, we will be delving into another aspect of what we work at here at CD4Peace, which is cultural diversity. Stay tuned to know more on colonial and racist heritage in the monuments. In 2020-2021, the presence in public spaces of recognitions of people, episodes, or places historically linked to racism, colonization, or slavery has been the subject of reviews aimed at public actions. Monuments of businessmen, soldiers, or politicians, until then regarded as significant figures of history, have been debunked, defaced, and defiled because of the involvement of these individuals in the colonial enterprise or in the light of their racist and discriminatory views. These actions have been carried out in several countries. In Britain, in June 2020, a statue of Edward Colston, a businessman involved in human trafficking, was dismantled in Bristol and thrown into the river. In the same month, a statue of Winston Churchill in front of the British Parliament was covered with an inscription accusing the politician of racism, especially against India and Indians. Similar actions have been carried out in recent years in Korea, Denmark, Macedonia, Moldova, Iraq, and elsewhere. This global contest has revived a long-standing debate about the place such symbols should have in the public space. The spectrum of possible actions on the issues of monuments and public memorial is wide. It covers at least 9 options, ranging from inaction, which amounts to ignoring the problem, to the destruction of racist statues and monuments. Authorities confronted today with the problem of colonial, slave, or racist past faced a double problem: the lack of response or the panic response. The debate cannot find a unique solution, but some suggestion can be made. The question of the colonial, racist, and slave legacy and of racism requires action, therefore inaction cannot be a solution. Secondly, any action taken would benefit from carefully avoiding confrontation or opposition between identities, as well as any kind of exclusion and new tensions. Then it would be wise not to set a single absolute policy, but to propose a coherent course of action, a citizen approach, and ad hoc solutions that legitimize, give credibility and value to the fight against racism and colonialism. Finally, investment in the educational dimension is in the long run the most important vector. This is particularly true at the level of primary, secondary, and university education, but also at the public level and in various ways. Something that we should keep in mind is that the idea of erasing history is not a viable option, nor is that of invisibilizing past racist, slave, or colonial actions with impunity is not a viable option as well. We can decide to forget, and we have every right as a community of citizens to want to forget. But voluntary erasure does not mean erasing history. What happened. It may sound trivial, but this is undeniable. What is important beyond this is the meaning to be given to what happened, and not simply its fatalistic registration. Dogmatic perpetration can become, or at least be read as racist or colonial in itself.
4 Minutes for Peace, podcast produced by CD4Peace, Cultural Diversity and Sustainable Development for Peace, organization established in Geneva since 2018.